Sitaram viewers, and welcome to another edition of the Hindu Perspective, a program prepared and presented by the Dharmandal of Swaha, of course, to bring understanding, enlightenment as it relates to various issues faced by the national community and the perspective of Hinduism in bringing some level of elucidation. Once again, we have with us our panel members. We have the senior most of us, Pandit Gandil Prasad, senior member of the Dharmandal of Swaha, spiritual leader of the Swaha Sukh Shanti Bhakti Mandali. We have Pandit Ishwar Madhu Maharaj, who is the principal of the Swaha Hindu College as well as the president of the organization. And we have Pandit Umarat Maharaj, who is the spiritual leader of the Swaha Bhakti Jyot Mandali in Arangwes. And we normally start with opening prayer, and I'll ask Pandit Umarat if he can lead us in opening prayer as we begin.
That's right. Om Hari Om Tat Sat Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat Shri Vigneshwaraya Namaha. Gauri Gajanan Swami ki Jai, Swaha Mata ki Jai.
Right. Thank you. And this evening we are going to discuss continue our discussions. And for the last 1 or 2 weeks, we have been discussing some issues that we have been clarifying misunderstanding. And the two of the big issues that we clarified was that of child marriage and as well as arranged marriages. And we had some enlightening discussion guided by Pandit Gandhi, who would have made references to the Vedas and the Upanishads and other religious texts that would have indicated to us what was the age of the marriage of Sri Ram and Sita Devi. And of course, that incident would have led to some misunderstanding. And we have had a lot of positive feedback where persons were not aware of these references. And now that those references were made on this program, then there's clearer understanding. And this indeed is the purpose of the program. I would encourage you to continue sending your comments. You will see the WhatsApp number 4708103. So that again, once you have questions, you continue sending those questions, and that will help us to come up with the topics for further programs. We spoke about the Sweet Sita Swayamvar and the role of parents in setting parameters for the marriage of your children. And of course, marriage being the coming together of two families, but persons who have the similar background, etc., so that there's harmony and there's continuity when there's marriage. We see a lot of social issues, high rates of divorce, etc., that are taking place, that are creeping in our society. And that really takes us into the nature of the discussions today, that when we look at society, we see a lot of social ills. And these social ills, of course, when you read our scriptures, we know that the age of Kali Yuga, there's a proliferation of negativity, there's a decline in dharma, righteousness, and this is manifested in many ways. We see an increase in crime, we see an increase in gender-based violence, we see an increase in poverty levels, drop in the standard of living, increase in larceny, increase in murders, higher level of delinquency, as both pundits can allude to, we have been in the education system and all of that. And what we want to do is probably make some references. So there are two areas in Ramayana. I would like the three pundits here, I'll act as a moderator again in the main, but for the three pundits here to give your views on what we see, and ultimately to link this leadership and to speak about leadership from the full perspective of Hinduism. And the first one is in Ayodhya Khan, when there was the rise of Ravan. And before the birth of Sri Ram, there's some beautiful Chaupai Doha that speaks about that says that, when there was a decrease in yagya, that there was in society, there was an increase in gambling, there's an increase in crime, there's an increase in this type of attitude. And at that time, you had Ravan, who was a reigning force at that time. So, it is linked to the attitudes that we see, the behavior that we see at that time when Ravan was in charge as the leading force. And we do see an increase in gambling. We see an increase in crime today. If you even look in the area that we live, which is Arangwes, you'll see multiple shops that they have gambling machines. We have gambling stations, etc. So that I wanted to pass over the pundits to make your comments on that. What are we observing in society as it relates to the decline or the shredding of the moral fabric in our society before we move into exploring some of the reasons. So upon this, I hope I've not spoken too much and trying to set up the context, but I would like you all to make your contributions as it relates to that. So maybe Pandit, you being in the system currently, you can probably begin, and then Pandit Omadat, Pandit Gyandeo.
Okay, certainly. So Panajaidat and Sitaram to our viewers, we are seeing exactly what is described in Sri Ramcharitmanas and Bhagavad Mahapurana and so many scriptures, and incidentally, not just Hindu scriptures also. But of course, this is a Hindu perspective, so we take our points and we raise issues and justify what we are saying using our scriptures of Sanatana Dharma. In Ramayana, there are numerous illustrations, and we generally go to Ramayana most comfortably, is most comfortable for most of us. And Panajaidat also set the stage by mentioning in the beginning of Ramayana, well, Ayodhya Kand, Balkand actually also, where remember Mother Earth, Dharti Mata, took the form of a cow because the atrocities upon earth committed by one sinner was too much for her to bear. So she could bear the weight of, normal mundane occurrences and little indiscretions. But where you have one individual and his followers being so evil, so wicked, one bad leader, one incredibly bad person, she could no longer bear that weight. And so the Lord had to come. So there's a decline in righteousness. Yada yada hidharmasya gnanil bhavati bharata. We all know that. And the other verse we quote, Bipradhenu sunasanta hidlina manujavatar. The Lord came to ensure that good prevails, that good people, noble individuals, holy ones, those striving for perfection, spiritual perfection, will once again be protected. But throughout Ramayana, there are references, and certainly at the end in Uttarakhand, Kak Bushundi speaking to Garuji, a number of wonderful illustrations and examples are given. Scary, in fact, if we don't understand them, that things actually will begin to get a lot worse before we start to see any better. So what we are seeing here, some may say is a natural progression of things that will happen. But I'm saying that we as intelligent individuals, we have the evidence in front of us. These are things that have happened in history. It's being repeated. And if we are followers of Sanatana Dharma, we believe that time is cyclical. So this book has been presented to us, and it is telling us that these attendant ills that are going to come. And so we have within our power, within our control, certain things that we could do. We can look at the leaders around us. We can look at the way we approach certain situations. We are given perhaps not the answer to everything, but certainly we are equipped with enough capacity and enough information to make right choices that could perhaps prolong maybe the inevitable, but if we can't reverse it, at least prolong it and bring little improvements that will redound to the benefit of all. And what we want is reduce in crime. We want greater happiness among people, greater peace of mind, that you could walk out your home and feel safe and secure. So I'm saying we could look towards our scriptures and look at the leaders that are there. But and as we discuss, more will come out, but or more will unfold. I hand over to Panagyandev, Pana Umarat to make their points, their opening comments.
Well, we'll pass over to Pandit Umarat and then Pandit Gyandeo.
Viewers, and I agree with Pandit Jairat, Pandit Ishwar, because even Bhagavad Gita tells us the same exact thing. Now, we always quote the last verse of chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita, where we go to the scripture, perform all injunctions of them ordained by the scripture. But verse 23 of the Bhagavad Gita tells us, discarding the injunctions of the scriptures, he who acts in an arbitrary way according to his own sweet will, such a person neither attains occult powers, nor the supreme goal, nor even happiness. So the Bhagavad Gita tells us that when an individual choose such a life that we are going to speak about negativity, etc., there's no happiness to be there. And as Pandeshwar mentioned, even as in Balkan again mentioned, that mighty Ravan, what the Chaupai tells us, the Doha, that he subdued the entire universe by the might of his own hands. No one was independent. And from the time we lose our independence, we become dependent, then we fall prey to unscrupulous ones, as we are speaking about this evening. And what again is mentioned here, that in the time of Ravan, as Panajarian mentioned, very, very important qualities that exist there. The number of villains, thieves, gamblers, those who covet others' wealth, wives, swelling of, great negativities. People do not honor their mother, their father. They don't have consideration for the service of the divine. This is the cause of the decline that we are seeing right now. And as we always mention that the God the known, God the unknown, God beyond the unknown. God the known, mother, father, Mati Devo Bhava, Pitri Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. So in my opinion, that is the foundation. And if you look at what is taking place in society now, as Panajarian, without trying to be political or anything like that, making general points, that there's a breakdown in the respect for mother, a breakdown in respect for father, and breakdown in respect for the preceptors, as we say. So everybody act in their own way, whatever they feel. And just to make a statement, as they, even from the top, the leaders don't write down. No one wants to listen to what another person has to say. No advice, like how Ravan ruled. He ruled high-handedly, ruled according to his own will. He ruled with the sword, putting everyone in dependency of him. And he himself was contaminated negative. So this is the cause, in my opinion, as an opening statement for what is taking place at this point in time.
Thank you, Pandit Umarat. Pandit Gyandev.
Thank you, Panaji. I think everybody knows that crime is high in the country. I'm looking at an article here in The Guardian which says Trinidad is listed as number six in terms of crime in the world. Imagine we are number 6. They have countries like Venezuela, South Africa, Afghanistan, Honduras above us. So we are 6 in the world. And the questions asked, Maslow's theory, the very applicable one. The government has to fulfill that mandate. So if you have a government that does not secure the welfare of the people, you have a government that does not give jobs, you have a government that's flippant about crime in the country. The country is run in spite of the government. So what's happening over the years and over the months, I've noticed everybody is blaming everything else except the government. The government seems to be away. So when somebody say crime is about racialism, we jump on that bandwagon. So they forget about government, that racialism now. Somebody say crime is something else, they jump on that bandwagon also. So the government is very happy. All these so-called, we call social intellectuals, bring up new reasons and things for crime. But nobody is saying the government has failed. Nobody mentioned that. Because why? I don't know. But in Guardian, they have it plainly. And there are many countries that are given warnings about Trinidad. And I'll bring it personal to my life. I'm spiritual leader Sukh Shanti. We have stop services. We have killing going on there nearly every day in St. Augustine. People are afraid to come out to a service. God will protect you, and a man can gun in front of you. You will say, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Ram. And Mahatma Gandhi said that. When you feel like the gun, you say, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, you still get killed. Ram will protect you, but you have to protect yourself also. So when I'm saying it comes home to us, and we have to understand how is crime closing down this country. One person put it very beautifully. This government should be closing down country. They close down Caroni, they close down Petrotrin. I know what else they'll close down. Right now, the whole country is closing down. Crime is blossoming, flourishing. And what happened? So that's not my responsibility. I got to take care of the people. I got to security at home. And what happened? A big conference, which normally do. The hypocrites normally do that. A big conference talk. We're going to deal with crime. And then talk about what? You take responsibility. What's the outcome of that? One man stand and said, people, when they see something, say something. So the police has nothing to do. The government has nothing to do. So they put it back on the population. The population have a right, must do everything. So what we have government for? And this is reality, But everybody seems to be going away from that. And there's more we'll talk about that. But the bottom line is, we're not going to say why crime has started overnight, That's going on all the time. But because of the lack of systems in place, our commissioner of police have removed who was dealing with crime. Did that cause crime to rise? What are the systems in place? Are police being given what they need to be given? Are the borders secured? Are we looking at those who have guns and drugs in the country are being persecuted in the legal system in place? So all these things, a whole total breakdown. And I am saying I'm not going to blame anybody except the government who's supposed to be doing it. Otherwise, what do I have a government for? Then disband the government. They have free fall. Everybody do on their own. Or change, what do you call it? I want a system you have. But the system what you're right now is not working. I have to blame the people in charge. If my home is going bad, I am the head of the home. I must take responsibility. CARICOM has a role, yes, but individual states have their role. And we are saying here, according to the statistics, Trinidad is number 6. It's frightening. I know it's very, very unusual. People know crime, people see crime, people are not experiencing crime, but yet, crime will not, the government will not, authority position, you must do what you have to do. We go build a safe house in your house, build a safe house in your house, and build a safe house in the safe house. Man, the kind of foolishness people come up with. And nobody is saying, government, you have resources. All the resources of the country is in the hands of the government. Use it now. Use it now for security and needs of the people. I pass back on, Panajay.
So thank you, Pandis, for your opening statements. And of course, yes, there are systemic issues. And we heard Pandit Gyandev mention those, and I don't think we can hide from that. And as we continuously say that this is not an attack on any particular government, because as Pandit Gyandev rightly said, these are like legacy issues. These are things that have been started in the past and they continue over a period of time. They have changed hands and they will continue unless something is done and the right systems in place to ensure that the lives of citizens are protected. Now, one like you on this. Sure.
Sorry to cut you across, but one thing I want to say, just to maybe to validate Pandit Gyandev's point, and for viewers here, and I hope this doesn't seem too controversial, and I'm being very clear, and as we have said quite often, we speak here without any prejudice, and also not necessarily representing the views of the whole of Swaha or the organization, but our individual viewpoint. And as a Hindu perspective, so we can have many different perspectives, but one thing I want to say, Pandit Gyandev laid the blame not squarely at the hands of the government, but mentioning that government has to accept responsibility. I want to go back to my mind. Remember, and this is controversial in that Mother's Day is coming up, but remember Sri Ram, after returning from 14 years of exile, when questions were raised about Mother Sita, how he could accept Mother Sita back into his home, into the palace, and she's not fit to be queen because we know the rumors and idle talk and old talk. And there were a number of things that were said. And with a very heavy heart, but wanting to project, of course, the right image, which, whether we agree or not, and that ideal of Ram Raj that we can speak about maybe later in the program, he accepted responsibility. He took responsibility. That is first thing. A leader has to take responsibility. So if there are ills in society, take responsibility for it. If the country is succeeding and doing well, by all means, the leader can beat his chest and boast about all that they have accomplished. In many ways, like the last government, on the partnership government, continues to boast about all the schools and institutions that they build, and rightfully so, whether we are supporters of that partnership government or not, because they have a track record. We see something different now. And society is degenerating. Crime is rampant. It's increasing. The leader must accept responsibility, and we are not hearing that. You're not seeing that. And all I'm saying is I'm linking it to Sri Ram Chrit Manas, where Prabhu Sri Ram accepted responsibility and he said, okay, for this, so I take responsibility. And Sita Mata went her way. We know she had love and kush there in the ashram of Valmiki. But that shows a leader, great leader. As I said, we may not all agree with his approach, but taking responsibility is very important. And are we seeing that? I'm just asking if we've seen that or not. I don't think so.
Yeah, so definitely, thanks for that, Arishan Pandit. And yeah, so I think we all agree that there are systemic issues that needs to be dealt with, and to put the responsibility upon others. Yes, there is a role that every single one of us have to play, but ultimately it comes down to the systems and the structures at a national level. And, when you go a little deeper into trying to understand these things, that crime is it's a symptom of other deep-rooted issues. So I remember a time when it was very easy to go to a temple on an evening. So you come home from work, you have enough time to bathe, to change, you don't have to face heavy traffic. Now you find that persons are leaving home in the dark and they're returning in the dark. By the time you reach home, it's very difficult to bathe and change. And even reaching a temple, what does that cause? It leads to degeneration, even in the spirituality. So you find that persons are unable to attend temple, a place of peace, a place where you can build your spirituality. There's more road rage, there's more frustration. You find that it's more and more difficult for individuals to make a living because cost of living has increased, standard of living has dropped. If you look at the feel of the society, if you look at the roads, you look at buildings, the place looks dirty, unkept. And all of these things are signs of a degenerating society. So that yes, there is the structural part of it that needs to be fixed. But when you look at the reason for all of that, even in the case of Rawan, the references that were made, what did Rawan do? As Pandit Omna said, he subdued all of the holy ones. And by so doing, you found that, wherever there was yagya, wherever there was sacrifice, all of that was destroyed. But in Trinidad, we see that there's a lot of yagya, there's a lot of puja that are being done, but yet you're not seeing the improvement in society. And it begs the question, is it that puja just being done as a mere act? The sacrifice that we put in there, the faith that we put in there, are all of those things there? Are we conducting these things in the right way? Are persons preparing in the right way? Or is it just simply an act and therefore it bears no fruits in building our spirituality and keeping us strong? So these are just different thoughts, that comes about out of the conversation. But I think that what all of us can agree with is that the current state of society is very, is not ideal. There's a lot of degeneration. And while we can focus on crime, and probably this is the second question I can ask, of the panel, that while we focus on crime, to what extent do you see that link between crime and other social ills? So, for example, we have gender-based violence, we have murders, we have theft. Well, we know they may all fall under the umbrella of crimes. But if we were to disaggregate these into different things, so for example, what may be the view of the panel on someone who may decide that, well, my family is suffering, and if I go and jump in the neighbor yard and steal mango because he has 10 trees and I just need 3 mango, is that acceptable? And sometimes these are the ways that things start, but it'll be interesting. And if any of the pundits may have a reference on scriptures, that will help. But if not, it is still a discussion for us to have. So maybe, I don't know, Pandit Umar, we can start with you. What is your view in terms of the link between these things? Maybe something small building up to the large things that we see, murder and theft and all of these things.
Thank you, Pandit. What I've noticed is that, and as Pandit Ishwar mentioned, when we speak, we have certain things to say, but just we speak in an objective way, Pandit Ishwar. So you may say it, but you don't have any intonation to it. It's just an objective statement to make. But I notice, being a person on the outside, through business, Pandita, etc., that after during the pandemic, when you see individuals were locked down, they had to stay home, then even after that, fathers, mothers lose their job, right? Their sole source of income, not being able to sustain their family. Then you notice that there was a great increase in criminality and activities like that. When you say criminality, you don't literally mean killing somebody. It means negative actions, because broaden it like that. As Pandit Jaren mentioned, that because of that circumstance, we see the vulnerability of people having to do things out of the norm, what they are accustomed to do. What they are not accustomed to, they had to end up doing because of the fact that they had to find ways to make their family satisfied. And that will lead to a mental degeneration also, because during that time, even up to now, maybe it's coming out a bit now, but we hear of many, many circumstances where we had suicide, where we had domestic violence. Frustration was the cause of that, not be able to provide, and making it, applicable. And this is just a general statement. The government of the day, saw it fit that, rather than encouraging or giving others the opportunity to work and earn a living, retrenchment was the order of the day, right? Retrenchment, laying off individuals. Employers saw this as an opportunity to get rid of staff, having them out in the dark, in the cold, not be able to earn a living. Place already locked down. Economy hard even up to now. So all this, in my opinion, is the cause of what we are experiencing at this point in time. Because look at what is taking place. The criminals that we have now, they're not 40 and 50 and 60 years. 18, 19, 15, 20. These are the kind of age you're looking at. And look at those individuals 3 or 4 or 5 years ago when the pandemic was there, what age they were. They are now teenagers. And reaching this age now, not having any sort of solid foundation, not be able to be provided for. You know, we have to say blessings to those parents who are able to provide for their children and keep them, you know, in a sane way, you know, and sustain them up to now and continue forward. But look at those who were not able to. And I say the level of crime that we have now, they are committed by these younger ones, who I, in my opinion, this is my personal opinion, I think is as general, because we hear it on the outside, that this pandemic, you know, losing of jobs, losing of income, you know, not having something to sustain yourself. Imagine you have to tell a young person, no, you can't go and buy that. You can't get that to eat. You can't get that to drink. When that is what they, you know, require at that point in time in society, to be, you know, amongst the others, be counted amongst the others, and you're deprived. What else would they turn to? We have a lot more increase in drug dealers. We know that. After yes, someday are going to have to deal with that circumstance with a parent and a child when calling name any place. But the same thing involving wrong company. Because why? The parents are unable to provide. The child get themselves involved in wrong company because of what? Of want. And all this, in my opinion, is a lead up to the criminal activities that is taking place now. Because of lack of support from the head, you know, instead of giving support in the time of distress, you know, they were left out in the cold. And they had no other situation, no other option, I'm sorry, but to turn to these sort of criminal activities. That is why we are, you know, experiencing what we are experiencing now.
All right, so thank you very much for that perspective, Pandit. And you know, before I pass over to Pandit Gandhi, you know, and again, these things are in the media, so it's nothing new that we are hearing. But we have seen where there were expenditures on items that persons may have felt is unnecessary, when there were certain other expenditures that were necessary that may have prevented some of these situations that we are seeing now, which is a real root cause. You know, we are saying that the question we're asking really is that we know that crime is wrong, but given the circumstances and what has been experienced and the fact that the systems are breaking down, you know, to what extent are these things understandable or justified? So, Pandit Gandhi, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to share with us on this point.
Jairaj, you made a comment there, but many people do not think that crime is wrong. You have different systems. You have the Marxist theory. You have all these fellows who bring 4 different theories. And because of the way society is going, some people believe you're right. If you have 2, I must get 1. If I don't have any. So because of that, you find things have changed. But I want to just take it from this point of view. That crime, the proceeds of crime, where did that go? And I asked the question, when a man kills somebody and he gets a lawyer, and from my understanding, these lawyers charge between $250,000 to nearly $1 million to support or to go in court to get this person off. So if a lawyer is supporting somebody, and this may be their job, who has committed a crime and taken $5 million or $6 million to get them off, then where did the criminals get the money from? So does lawyers benefit from the proceeds of crime? This is something the law association have to address. That lawyers is your job. Yeah. Does that mean if it's on the company, you can say, no, I'm not going to take your case. If you believe that they you know, in your own way, but you can't be judge and executioner and everything, right? But it's a technical situation. So who benefits from the proceeds of crime? Then you have people in society, but I want to mention young persons. When you show a principal of a school, I know for a fact, this is where the system has broken down. And this is the solution to crime in the country. It must start somewhere. It must start from the entrance to school. All children supposed to be in school up to 14 years mandatory. Alicia is 14 or 16? 14,
16.
right?
16 now.
16.
Yeah.
So you must be there. And there is what you call, long time they have cumulative cards. These days they have computers. They must have some system to track that person. Where are you? Where have you been? You're not in school? Community police must look at them. So this is where the crime has to stop. It must start to stop it somewhere. And we can take it from there. The school system. Education brings social mobility. Education will stop crime also. We have to have a strong education system. Not one where I really prefer the fence broke down. The family inside and caused a problem. The parents protest. Then they fix the fence. And people, oh, Minister, great work, great work, great work. After so long, the fence has been damaged. All can happen in education system. Poor education system. And the bottom line I'm making is no record of students. If you're out of school, you're supposed to be in school so that you can track them from there, from entrance to school, and you have a record on where they live or where they've been going. And when you're 16 years, the tracking is not hard because then you know where your parents are and they have moved out, and then you have the ID card system. So we have all the systems in place. But the government, the people who are in charge are not doing their job, I think. Even teachers in school. How often you see cumulative cards? Record of students from primary school to secondary school. At least secondary school, you miss secondary school. How often do we see those records come forward? And police going and checking in their homes. Where you in school? Where have you been? And then the proceeds of crime come again. If a man drives a Mercedes-Benz, he's 17, 18 years, no license, he drives Mercedes-Benz already. Find out where he got it from. Where did he get it from? All these big gold chain on the neck. It costs money. Just recapping is they just use the education system where we have track of children and then use proceeds of crime and deal with it. We have the systems in place to deal with crime, to start attacking it, to stopping it.
Well, Pandit, and I guess this is applicable discussions also because SWAHAs and NPO, we are guided by the FIU TT, right? The
Yes.
Financial Intelligence Unit. And that is guided by the Proceeds of Criminal Act. And the Proceeds of Criminal Act look at things like money laundering and where does this money go and for what purpose. And the reason for that is that, again, we are talking about social ills. And we are talking about crime as a category, but if we were to disaggregate that, there are some crimes that we have not mentioned, but maybe we should mention them because the idea of the program is to be real and look at the things that are really affecting our society. So that money that is gained from criminal activity, money laundering, etc., and that those things are used for human trafficking, for sex trade, even money from prostitution and all of that can be used for these purposes. So Panditji, the system in banks now, very simple. You have, if you come in with $1 million, you have to declare. You have to do source of our declaration forms, source of funds, source of wealth, etc. So there are systems in place that are put to try to control those type of crimes or the proceeds of crimes, and that POCA, as it is called, deals with some of those things. And certain industries, especially high value industries where there's a lot of cash, those are regulated by that. So that is one thing that is done. However, when you look at the system, and again, this is just my view, there are still loopholes. So for example, below a certain amount, you don't have to declare anything. Even as an NPO, because our inflows are less than a certain amount every year, which is to me a large amount, then we are not supervised by the FIUTT, although we are registered as an NPO. So that you have up to $500,000-$600,000 that you don't have to account for. On that, you can register 5 NPOs and be engaging in money laundering or financing of terrorism, or what you call proliferation financing, financing the creation of weapons of mass destruction and all of that. And all of these are realities within Trinidad and Tobago. We do have organizations that engage in these acts. So that one way to deal with that, of course, is this act, and that helps a bit. But what we do observe again, and Pandit, sure you can, speak to this. And again, when we make reference to Ramayana and all of these scriptures, even Mahabharata, there was an increase in what we call lascivious behavior. And we see that prevalent among young children, and especially females. So we are talking about gender-based violence, we are talking about respect for self-image. But you find that you have adults who have money, and the term we use is sugar daddy, right? The local word, and they would pay bills, they would pay for dinners or for vacations and all that for young girls. Now, how do you prevent something like that from from the school, the side of the school, as Panagiani was saying? There are certain structures in place, they may not be enforced, but from a spiritual side, from a religious side, from the side of Swaha, from the side of the education system within Swaha and other organizations, etc. How do you prevent this situation where you have predators that are preying on innocent minds and, of course, derailing the life of these persons? And then you would see, if we look, we see it more and more. You see a person on the side of the road, 4 children, 5 children, no father, they are begging, they have to depend on someone to give them some charity to take care of their family. We are seeing a greater incidence of vagrancy and all of that. And it is among younger persons, and normally the females are targeted. And a lot of time that starts from the incidence of the school. So that I know that school children, especially school girls, are targeted by older men. And I don't know if Pandiji have experienced that within the school system. And if you did, what can we do as an organization or as a society to try to address these things?
Definitely. This is something I could speak not just necessarily only within Swaha Hindu College or Swaha schools in general, but across the country. Yes, I can tell you principals, teachers, administrators, school boards are fighting with this problem. And in both schools, Panagyande would agree with this. It's even more difficult in that we are not as well serviced or well staffed as certain other schools. We have lower staff. The staff to student ratio, of course, is less. And then also we have no school safety officers. Some schools have a few of them. Many schools, as I said a couple times in the program already, many schools do not have a school social worker, a guidance counselor or guidance officer, and there are very few in some districts. And all these things serve as a, it kind of stymies the progress we want to make. So it's constant effort that is required. We do it on a regular basis, a weekly basis. Again, all our pundits here would have been part of religious instruction and moral and values instruction. At some point in time, we do it in the temple, we do it in school. And we are trying to instill in our young people to value themselves, for the young men to value young women and vice versa, and to respect themselves and not to fall prey, not to fall victim to these predators on the outside. And it's not just men targeting women. We are seeing more and more instances of men and women also targeting young men. Young men are also falling victim to it's happening. And it works both ways now, we realize. But I'm saying that the systems are there in school up to a certain point. We do our best, but what happens when they leave? We cannot track everything. And the whole concept of, there's dund. We talk about the dund being the idea of punishment. The fact that representing that dund, that staff. We had a Janeo recently where 2 young boys, were initiated and in due course will become pundits of Swaha. The dund represents many things, but in time gone by, it was representing, punishment. Repercussions also, it was a symbol, just like the Mukdar was for many people. But what is the repercussion really? Are people afraid of any sort of action? Notice people driving on the road, it's a speed past the speed limit until suddenly you see the police sign up with the speed gun and fine went up, to $4,000 or $5,000, and there's the merit or demerit system. Only now you notice a little change, a little improvement on the road because there's some tangible punishment. What punishment is there for these individuals who perpetrate such acts? Yes, it's criminal offense. There's a Children's Authority Act, Child Act, Sexual Offences Act. All these are in place, But check and see how many crimes and indiscretions are being committed and how many of these perpetrators are actually behind bars or actually punished. And a lot has to do with lack of I'm saying that maybe enforcement is the problem, but a big problem also, people are failing to report. People are failing to observe what is going on and taking a stand and doing what is right. And I'm saying that, and I'm laying part of the blame squarely also at parents and elders in society who are observing these things in the home and allowing it to go unpunished. In school, we deal with it. Well, I said so a few times on the program. Once we notice it, we spring into action and we try to assist. And I can tell you, it has happened to me. Sometimes we bring things to the attention of the police. And again, I have to be very careful in what I'm saying. We bring certain critical pieces of information to the police. And you know what? When I check back, the children come back to school, the child comes back, we follow up, nothing is happening. Nothing has happened. So where are we falling short? I cannot tell the police how to do their job, but I'm saying we report it and then we find out nothing else has happened. So there's some missing link there. There are some gaps there. So is it the parent? Is it law enforcement? Is it the law itself? I could only speak about what I observe. And there's a lot more that I want to say. I'm itching to say, but I think I'll get in trouble if I say it. So I'll keep quiet on this issue. Further.
Thank you,
Panaji, just as you mentioned that, the same exact thing that was going through my mind at this point in time, the parenting at home. The city family is the basic unit in society. And I can remember when we were small, maybe I don't know if Panaji remember, but I can remember for myself, Panaji and my late mother, Bina, may the divine bless her soul, ever she is. But I could always remember, she would tell us, you could wake however late you want Saturday night. You better get up and go temple Sunday morning. And she'll pull out this little stick. She will ensure that no matter what, that is an integral part of your life. And if you look at what is taking place now, Pandit, all of us run temples, look at the attendance in the temples. You can't even get the parents to come to the temple. What do you say about the children? And up to recently, I was speaking to a parent, and I was telling them, if you do not teach your child, right, the values and of Sanatana Dharma, the principles, what are they going to teach their children when they get old? You already old, you go to the party, you learn everything. Your parents put this inculcated within you, but what are you inculcating within them? And this is my opinion, one of the biggest cause of all indiscipline that that is taking place, where children in particular, as I said, the Vivek principle, they are unable to differentiate between what is real from what is unreal, what is right from what is wrong, what is good from what is bad, what is negative, what is positive. And according to Panagyandev, they don't see nothing wrong with performance of a negative act, slapping on somebody in school, coughing on somebody, thieving somebody mango, taking the bike. Nothing is wrong with that. What causes that? It goes right back, in my opinion, to no government, but to the home. If the parents in the home are unable to discipline the children, and as a matter of fact, the most amount of discipline that we get in life is when you go to our temples. Because when you go to the temples, you learn to respect the elders. When you go to the temple, you learn about our scriptures. You learn all the values of Sanatana Dharma, the principles, etc. You learn your life principle. All of us here, we were under the guidance of our parents, our uncles, etc. That's why we could be where we are today. And look at those who are not like this. And look at the interaction with parents. There's a big gap, as Pandisha spoke about that gap. So, in my opinion, I think what you said is a very important point. The foundation. They say the family is the basic unit in society. Everything starts from the family. If a parent cannot discipline a child, and a child, is not able or is not listening to what the parents say, or not following the instructions of the parents, and the parents have no concern. And there's that, bhajan that was sung so long ago, Tejire. That's a classical bhajan for the stage of Kali Yuga, where parents look at children dancing in the streets, they're doing all these things, and support them, have nothing to say about it. Then that is the cause of degeneration, in my opinion, the root cause of all degeneration. So I think, as Panagyandev was suggesting, and I will also suggest, one of the ways in which you can curb this activity of crime, you can start within our communities, get our communities back to the temples, get them to come back, get the parents to not send the children, come with the children, sit with the children. And within it, within that temple itself, all the points of Swaha temples, as Bhagavad Gita mentioned, if you have to know what to do against what not to do, you follow the scripture, you get the scripture knowledge. And that scripture, I can tell you for myself, scripture injunctions is what you live our life by. You're afraid to do something wrong. You don't do something out of the way, because of you're afraid to get sin or punished, whatever the case may be. So you have that, as Pandisha mentioned, that stick of discipline that is there. That okay, I do not want to do this because this will happen. I cannot do that because that will happen. So in this way, you bring discipline to yourself. And all through the parents through the temples and the services, etc. So I think one of the ways in which we can start to curb crime is by getting individuals back to the temples, back to service, finding a way to provide that based on a time and a place and a circumstance, obviously crime not to go too late at night, etc. But ensure that that time is there. For example, my Thursday service, I start at 6:20 and finish at 8. That's the time I work with. So I tell people you can sacrifice that 2 hours or 1.5 to come. It is not too early, not too late. We're trying to, as Sanatanis Hindus, as Swaha Pandits, we try our best to, find ways to encourage the devotees, the parents in particular, to bring their children to the temple. But as Pandit Ishra mentioned, it's like leading to the horse to water, I can't make him drink. But all we can do, we have to make the effort. But I think that is one of the ways, one of the guaranteed ways of bringing back discipline. And this is what is happening, discipline society. Individuals cannot differentiate what is right from wrong, what is good from bad, negative from positive. Because why? They are ignorant, they're lacking that divine knowledge. I think the temple is one of the guaranteed ways of bringing back discipline to society.
Yes, Pandit, I think that we would all agree with that. And we have invested so much in temples, and it's unfortunate, as Pandit Gandhi would have mentioned, that because of the situation in St. Augustine, we know that, such a beautiful temple, very vibrant, very, very alive. There's no service because of that situation. Now, I'd like to ask Pandit Gandhi, he can give his views as he sees fit, but one particular question. As a senior Pandit in the country who have seen a lot and have been in many places, the way that temples are operated, we are seeing less attendance, etc., that, the value of maybe consolidating, trying to get larger numbers of smaller groups, etc. What would you recommend? The Pandit Umadad is suggesting, and I think that all of us will agree, that a temple, being immersed in that experience is definitely something that we would have all grown up involved in, and we would have all benefited from. What would you recommend as a way by which you can probably get persons back to the temple and to the that particular environment? Pandit Gandhi?
Well, there are many things that we discussed, conform to what Umar said. But directly to your question, is that people are not coming to temple because they don't like temple. People are not coming to temple because they hate temple or they hate God. They are not coming to temple because of the crime situation. They're afraid to leave home. They have to go to work, so they must go. But temple activities are normally in the evening or the night. So we have to, first of all, not assume that people are not coming to temple because they don't like God, or not holy, or they're unholy. That is not, in my opinion, not so. People are not coming to temple because they do not like the crime situation, and some of them making a stand on it. Some of them decide, look, my life comes first. If I die, I can't pray. So it makes no sense going to try to pray and get killed in the process. Now, we are discussing this, and we have to take a broader picture. But Umar had made the point out, going back to temple, how many criminals are Hindus? We have statistics. How many criminals are there out there are Hindus? How many criminals are AR-15 and guns go out killing people all over the place? How many Hindus? How many are Christians? How many are Muslims? So we can't just break a blanket statement that our temple and make it look as though the Hindu soul is under pressure and we don't like temple. It's because of crime. But you have to get statistics. Information, decision making is based on statistics. How many Hindus are there? How many? What are the Hindus? One of the pundits in the discussion talk about attacking of Indians. The statistics there, we don't know. So the same point we made. We can't make a blanket statement because Christians, Muslims, all of them want to go to their house of worship. So we as Hindus can't say people not coming because it's bad or they have evil in them. No, we can't go down that line. You have to analyze and see. Before, I just draw, look, I'll give you an example here. Before, COVID was there because COVID kind of mashed up everything. In St. Augustine, we had what? We had proper services going on. But Umar was there in a year. But Harday was there in a year. Ishwar was there in a year. We had the 25th anniversary was celebrated. We have weekly services with attendance close to 100, sometimes 200. So we have people coming to temple all the time. But COVID caused them to stop. Now the crime caused them to stop. It's not that they don't want to come to temple. The history shows people love the temple. The Hindus want to come to the temple. And we have a track record show. Some came, some didn't come. We had meetings, we go out to them, ask them, would you come? We encourage you to come to temple. Some people just wouldn't come because they rather consume alcohol. And when you talk about, Umar made a very important point. When you're telling children, do not be lewd and this kind of way, dance on the road. 2 days for the year, we always have that. At least 2 days, full days, you have people kind of like animal on the road. Animal, gyrating, carrying on. And then we go Wednesday and tell them, come back school now, come school, they behave good now. That is contradicting children's mind. So these I think get addressed, but how long is going on? I made the point, but Umar made the point good, that in my home, my father never allowed us to go carnival. I never allowed my children to go carnival either. And I have no problem saying that. Because what you see now we're doing there, carnival has many positives in it, the creativity and so on. But negativities need to be taken out. And what is projected is negativities. So when you give the conflict in child's mind, Monday and Tuesday, do what you want, go and behave, be half naked totally, rub mud in your skin. There's a nice thing I saw a cartoon. On Wednesday, the lady going to work, nice suit and thing, but she watched the fella. The fella said, and I romped with you yesterday in carnival. She hates her fragrant. But she, for that time, it looked nice. And she now going to suit and thing, going back to work Wednesday because that period finished. So this is the ironic situation. This is what you need to address. And how will it be addressed? Since I know myself, I was working in a bank, I'll call it name. I had to go to work carnival day. I went, I sheltered, take umbrella. When you're walking, people jumping up and beer falling all over you. I put a camera, you don't get involved in it. So you can control it. And then you have now from carnival, the kiddies carnival. I don't go on kiddies carnival. So the conflict in child's mind is there. And nobody shall allow that to continue. But it's the country, we are capable of the culture, that is not my culture. And then we discussed that previously. We talk about Hindu carnival. There's nothing, there's oxymoron. There's no Hindu carnival. Bhagwa is Bhagwa. Bhagwa is not Hindu carnival. So what we say, we try to avoid negativities. This is the aim of Swaha. So Panajairat, in this situation, what happened? I seen that sign here 5 minutes ago. Saying all this up. It's fine. So we'll discuss more things. I have a whole setting here to discuss. Maybe next time. So just to conclude, let us look at the society and let us make representations to those who represent us to make sure society changes. We can't do it overnight. It will take time, but you have to start somewhere. Start with children in school and start with the finances and BIR and account for the money you get. And just one thing before I move on. You have these politicians who have a call. And what is that?
I think there has to be some drop in connectivity there. A few times we're on the Gandeo today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just ask the viewers to excuse, right? I think these things are understandable, these technical difficulties whenever we have these things. But we are in the last few minutes.
Just to make the point, I mean, not to trivialize his point, but the reason we are actually doing this is because we ourselves, we feel unsafe always meeting together in the studio. It's difficult for us just for information, this is recorded relatively late in the evening when we are all completed with our regular duties. So this is why we have continued with the Zoom format as opposed to going back to the studio.
It's crime is one, but traffic is another one. I mean, there isn't the freedom of movement and all of that as we had before. Panditji, we lost you for a few seconds there. Yeah, your mic is muted. Yes. Panditji, you have to unmute.
This is like a program, sometimes we have bloopers on a program.
Put us in the end.
Right.
It's not a comedy end.
I am muted.
Right, yeah. The blooper segment.
No, I came back and it automatically mutes when you come back in. So
okay.
yeah. So Pandit, I mean, we'll just close off now. I think we have reached the end of the program, and comment on what you were saying, Pandit, and all the other pundits. I think that what we need to discuss is probably, I think we mentioned it, some of the sulachan, the good attitudes, and we see more things, the indisciplined children with phone in puja and yagya and all of these things, not paying attention. They don't know that they have to take off their shoes when they sit to eat. They're eating before all the food is shared. Those are that we know and grew up with. So that those are things that we probably need to discuss a little bit. We talk about it when you go to Bhandara, the way people eat and all of these things. It's just not consistent with our way. And with the advent of technology and the easy access to it, we are finding more and more that you barely find a child that sits down and listens to a puja instead of playing a game on a phone. Or even the teenagers, they are sending messages and all of that. So all of those things have become normalized. Even taking pictures and all of that has become normalized. You take picture, the prasad and every single thing, and we have to share it. And we spoke about these things a little bit, and maybe next program we'll go into it a little deeper, because upon this, I believe for the next program we want to move into Indian Rival Day, and we'll be able to kind of juxtapose what existed in the past to what exists today. And maybe you'll get a little more understanding of why we are where we are and the things we can do to address it. All right, so Pandit Gyani would have made his closing statements. I'll pass off to Pandit Umadat, then Pandit Ishwar, and Pandit Ishwar, you can close off the program.
Thank you, Panditji. So closing remarks. I firmly believe that everything starts from the home. In order to curb all disciplines and indiscipline, curb indisciplines and inculcate disciplines, it must start from the home, which is the root of the tree, and everything branches off from that.
Thank you, Pandit Umadat. And I will continue just where Pandit Umadat left off. And who is at the root, the very root of it? The mother, right? In a couple of days' time, we celebrate Mother's Day. So to our mothers who are at the core of our families, fathers just support really, Some fathers take up additional responsibility if the mother is not there, but the mother is that one who is the base, the substratum, as it were. So we say, Matri Devo Bhava, respect your mother as God, but Pratham Guru Mata, that mother, our mother, the first guru. So to all our mothers, all the females viewing, because not just the biological mothers, many of the aunts and even big sisters and others in society function the role of a mother. To all of you looking on, we say Happy Mother's Day. Panagyande Shubh Matri Divas, right? The correct term, I don't know if I have it right, but Happy Mother's Day to all our mothers, Swaha mothers viewing on IETV. We love you, and we hope that you are not affected by crime at any time. And this is what we all want for ourselves. But it's wishful thinking. But this is why prayer is important. And I hope that the powers that be, perhaps if they did get wind of this program, that they will try to, accept some responsibility and try to make some positive changes. As that we bow our heads in prayer and we focus upon Devi Ma, as we seek the grace of Divine Mother, and may she bless all mothers and all of us. Om Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvat Sadhike Shadanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Om Hrim Shrim Dum Durgaya Namah. Bol Shri Adi Shakti No Durga Mata Ki Jai, Swaha Mata Ki Jai, Satya Sanatan Dharma Ki Jai. Sitaram.
Sitaram.